All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome to today's Program Yourself Thin podcast, where we're talking about how to lose 15 pounds a day without giving up any of your favorite foods. There is no answer. You can't lose 15 pounds a day. And so I joke around with that because, as soon as you hear how to lose 15 pounds a day, it's almost like you can't stop yourself from getting curious, getting sucked into that idea. And I make it ridiculous just to prove the point that you're so often focused on losing weight quickly in some tricky, sneaky, never heard of way before to do it, that you keep falling for the same trick. And it's the diets. And as long as you think you're going to be able to do some crazy thing in order to lose weight quickly, you're most likely going to stay on this hamster wheel of struggle. And so the real first strategy and solution to weighing what you want is to stop focusing on dieting, to give up on the idea that there's any quick fixes. There just aren't. I don't know if you went to college or not, but if you went to college, imagine when you were thinking about college the entire time, like, how can I get my degree in a month? How can I get my degree in 1 month? How can I learn everything in 1 month? And if that's how you approached it, you never would have done anything because you can't do it. There would have been no options. You might have tried some different things. They wouldn't have worked. You would have quit and you'd still be in the same mode. How can I get my degree? How can I get my degree? It'd be 40 years later, you still have the degree. But here it is 40 years later, you still haven't lost the weight. Why? Because you keep chasing diets and these ridiculous ideas of weight loss. And so the second you give that up and begin to focus all of that energy, instead of looking for shortcuts, just focus it on taking care of business. It isn't that hard. Not really. Not when you approach it with a rational, logical, strategic mindset. It's hard if you want to lose all the weight instantly. But if you slow down and relax, it's not that hard. We just take things one step at a time. You start working on your unhealthy eating patterns, the most egregious we start with. You start working on implementing some healthier eating patterns, some healthier lifestyle routines. Start working on your mind. Start getting yourself into a better place where you can more comfortably make healthier food choices. And then keep optimizing. It's not rocket science. It's impossible for you because every time you try to lose weight, you do something extremely overwhelming that you can't stick with. That's why it feels so hard. It's not hard. It's that you're making it hard because you keep trying ridiculous diets to do it. So I hope this is a wake-up call to try something different. If you have no idea what something different is, go to the link in my bio, click the link, get the hypnosis session, watch the video I made, and read the emails I send because they'll let you know about a different way to approach your weight. And I think you'll find that it gets you much better results. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask them. What's up, Jen? How's it going? Jen, you're a so I was looking at Disney World the other day and they got park hopper passes. You're a social media hopper, right? You were on Instagram yesterday and now you're on YouTube. What's up, Kathleen? Is it Pat Manidis? Almost sounds Greek. So anyways, yeah, hope everyone's having a nice, geez, I don't even know what day it is. It's so funny. I literally lost track of time yesterday. Yeah, KT says, hey, Jim, got 2 emails about the live call today, one for 3 and one for 4. Is 4 p.m. today, right? Yes, absolutely, Katie. The 3 o'clock one is a class where I'll teach a class for about a half hour or so. And then if there's any questions, we'll talk about those for about a half hour. And then the coaching call, that's the big one. That's what you want to get on. That's 4 p.m. Eastern. And so make sure you get on that. And you should have the information for that. So excited to work for you. Dana says, I'm so tired of binge eating. Yes, binge eating is usually one of the main presenting problems. And I call it a presenting problem because it's not actually the problem. Typically, usually there's something deeper going on there. Okay. Not always, but most of the time, usually. And so it's not that you're so tired of binge eating, although I'm sure you are, but usually there's something preceding it. And that's what we want to figure out, because I get it. The binge eating thing, it's like you've been doing so well, and then the binge eating can come out of nowhere and just wipe out everything you've been doing. Right? And I've seen people, the way our brains are wired, the diet mindset, people can be doing well for 2 weeks and then binge, and then it feels like they wiped everything out. So binging really is definitely, I think, something that has to be dealt with head on. Now, the way you deal with it is the thing. I think the idea of trying to stop yourself from binge eating, good luck. Good luck. I don't think it's going to work because there's a reason why you're binge eating. I don't know what it is. Maybe you get yourself too hungry. Maybe you got some emotional stuff you don't know how to deal with. Maybe you just got this habit kind of programmed into your mind and body. So I don't know why you're binge eating. I'd want to know that. But I can tell you one thing, just trying to stop binge eating. I mean, the way I look at it a lot of times, I say that dieting is kind of like just say no to food. Remember, I just say no to drugs back in the 80s, and the whole solution was just say no. Right? People that are addicted to drugs, oh, just say no, you know? And I think we look at that now as obviously very unhelpful, ineffective. And dieting is the same thing, right? Because the basic idea is, oh, I'm just going to stop binge eating now. I want to lose weight, so I'm going to stop binge eating. Well, if you could just stop binge eating, don't you think you would have already done it by now? Don't you? So there's got to be more to it than that. And I think the secret is to realize that willpower doesn't fix everything. Once you understand even just a little bit of how your brain's organized, it's very, very clear quickly that willpower is not going to do all the work you want it to, or have been led to believe that it will. And so the alternative is to start understanding ourselves and start being more strategic with our solutions. And that applies with everything, but certainly with binge eating. So again, it's not just about stopping ourselves from binging, but taking a step back and saying, what is leading to the binging? And there might be a couple different things. You might have a couple different binge patterns, but I'd want to identify those. I want to figure them out because, of course, the more awareness and understanding you have of each binge pattern, the more strategic your solution can be, as opposed to just thinking willpower is going to fix everything. I don't know why anyone would think that at this point. I got to tell you, most of my clients are usually right in their 50s, and I don't understand. I mean, you've had 30 years of willpower not working. What more do you need? This idea of living in fairy tale land that someday you're going to be able to tap into some ridiculous amount of willpower, it's crazy. But I hear you, Dana. The binge eating definitely, it's discouraging. It is discouraging. But anytime you can't change your behaviors, it really is discouraging. It's so frustrating. So I feel you. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Katie. And by the way, Katie, if you can't make the live class, that's fine. Because that replay will be up in the members area, and you can see the previous ones we've done. Because right now we're going through the eating blueprint. And so we're going to hop. It's good. And you can hop right into it. Someone just wrote to me, they're in the program and they're doing it out of order. There really is no order. Honestly, it's all information you want to learn, and whatever order you want to take it, it doesn't matter. You go through the hypnosis sessions in order, and that's fine. How you want to go through the actual blueprints is up to you, and it doesn't matter. But anyways, so the class today, if you can get on that, cool. If not, there'll be a replay. It'll be up tonight or tomorrow. But we'll be talking about the eating blueprint. Yeah, and we'll be continuing with the blueprints next week. But yeah, if you can't make the class, that's not too big a deal. The coaching calls, which you really want to make sure you get on, because that's where I'll work directly with you. What's up, Mama? How's it going? Jen says, hi, last night I made brownies for a coworker's birthday. Dieting me would have been white knuckling, not indulging. New me genuinely did not even want it. I didn't even think about it until this morning. Wow. That's crazy. So there you go. Jen's on the program. But this is what I try to tell you all. I know that might sound like crazy to you all dieters, right? But that's because you dieters don't know how to think right. Are you going to argue with me about that? You think you know how to think right? How can you be thinking right if you're overweight and struggling with it for decades? You know how to think wrong. You're good at thinking wrong. Don't take it personally, so you think like a dieter, big deal, recognize it and fix it. But you'd have to let me know how you plan on losing weight on a diet or as a dieter. You'd have to tell me how that's supposed to work. I don't know. But anyways, yeah, so here's Jen, right? She's got new thoughts in her head. She thinks about things differently. So now she can make brownies for work and not go crazy with them, right? A dieter, forget it. And plus, even if you're a dieter, maybe you get through the brownies one time, you didn't eat them, and then this weekend you'd, oh shit, watch out. Isn't that how it feels, folks? I mean, right? You use your willpower, and even if you're able to use your willpower and overcome something, then something wallops you right after that. That's because your willpower is a muscle. It gets depleted. They've done studies on this. This shit drives me crazy. Fine, you want to use willpower? Fine. But at least you should learn about it. Go read Roy Baumeister. He's the master of willpower. This guy studied willpower for 40 years scientifically. So, okay, fine. Be a dieter and rely exclusively on willpower. I'm not going to stop you, but shouldn't you at least learn about willpower? Don't you think that would be helpful if that's the one tool you're going to rely on? If that's the only thing you're going to use, that's the one thing between you being overweight and at your goal weight is your willpower. Don't you think you should at least use that and learn about it? Because you know what'll happen when you learn about it? You're going to realize, oh shit, this ain't up to the task. This ain't a muscle that's up to the task of getting me to eat right. It's not your willpower, folks. Your problem with your weight is not a willpower-based problem. It's a mindset-based problem. Your mindset's straight fucked. You got a dieter mindset. Dieters are overweight people. So, great job, Jen. Proud of you. Chloe says, do you believe breakfast was invented by big food and should be avoided? I mean, I think that there's no question it was invented to some degree. I mean, breakfast cereal and breakfast foods were absolutely, created by big food. There's no question about it. It wasn't big food back then, though. It was Kellogg's, it was cereal. So I guess it was that version of big food. It wasn't like now. But should it be avoided? I think, that question I could never answer for you. And I think this goes to the heart of why you're all struggling to lose weight, because you're all dieters and you're all, this is Dan Kennedy, props to him for saying this originally, but you dieters are like people walking around with your umbilical cords in your hands, looking for somewhere to plug it into, for someone to tell you how to lose weight. And it's like, you're all smart. I know for a fact, if you're listening to me for more than 5 minutes, you're probably an overthinker, because I talk fast. I'm all over the place with my ideas, and I'm talking about things on a deeper level. And so I know the only people that listen to me are overthinkers. And so if you're an overthinker, you're too smart to just be told what to do. How the fuck, how's someone that doesn't know you and you've never met going to tell you how to eat for the rest of your life? It's not going to happen. So what's the alternative? Well, you figure out how you want to eat. Do you like to eat breakfast? So I've experimented with this. How about this solution? I can't tell you whether you should eat breakfast or not, because I don't know how it reacts in your body. But I can tell you, for me, how did I find the answer for me, what to do with that? Should I avoid breakfast or not? Well, you know what I did? I avoided breakfast for a while. And then I ate breakfast. Turns out I like eating breakfast. I feel better. So there's no yes or no. There's no right or wrong. There's only what works for you. So if you eat breakfast and you feel great and it helps you eat well throughout the day, then eat breakfast. If you eat breakfast and now it sets you off to the races and now you're just binging all day long, then don't eat breakfast. That's usually not that simple. It depends what you're eating for breakfast, and there's a couple other factors, but just in general, instead of expecting someone to tell you, by the way, this is how you free yourself of all the dieting influencer bullshit, which is keeping you stuck. You're so inundated with so many different conflicting ideas that you're literally stuck. You don't even know what to do. You're being pulled in every direction and you're staying in the same place. And so the fastest way out of this is start trusting yourself. And I know that's the craziest thing. No dieter thinks they can trust themselves. Pretty interesting. Dieting's a conspiracy. All the big diets you're referencing, by the way, are all owned by big food companies. Talk about big food. Weight Watchers was owned by Heinz. Jenny Craig was owned by Nestle. The Atkins food products is owned by the same company as Auntie Anne's Pretzels and Cinnabon. Slim Fast is owned by the same company as Ben and Jerry's. So you want to talk about the big conspiracy? It's that all the diets are owned by food companies and they're just pumping your brains full of mashed potatoes. That's why you're stuck for 40 years trying to lose weight, because the diets are a bunch of bullshit. So one of the fastest ways to free yourself of the dieting bullshit is to start trusting yourself. What works for me? Let me try some different things and see how I feel. Crazy idea, right? But then all of a sudden you got real answers because you're basing it on how you feel, not just some dipshit on a TikTok live or an Instagram live. Who cares what I say? I don't know your body. Even if I was if I had a PhD in nutrition, I couldn't answer that question. So, yeah. What's up, Joy? How's it going? Oh, YouTube in the okay, got you, Jen. Let's see here. Dana says it's definitely emotional. Every time I feel bad or upset, I binge. Yeah. So Dana, I mean that to me, see, this is what I'm talking about. It's not like, oh, I'm so tired of binging. I know you are, but I'd be way more tired of feeling like shit. I'd be tired of feeling bad or feeling upset. That's what I'd be tired of. Does that make sense? So often, again, when I talk about the binge eating or emotional eating, if you want to keep it on that level, emotional, I'm so tired of emotional eating. Well, I'd be tired of the emotions that are leading to the emotional eating. The emotional eating is a symptom. The cause is the emotions. And so for Dana, I don't want to hear, I mean, I know what you're saying. I understand what you mean, that I'm so tired of binging, but you keep looking at it like the problem is that you're binge eating. And I look at it like the problem is that you feel bad or upset a lot and you don't know how to deal with it. When you feel bad or upset, you don't know how to deal with it genuinely. So you turn to food. That to me would be the way bigger issue than the binge eating, even because you don't know how to deal with your emotions. And when you start to feel bad or upset, it's just this roller coaster ride you don't know how to let yourself off of. It's not because you can't. It's what's going on with my sinuses here. But so I hope that makes sense, Dana. It's not about just trying to, because here's the thing, right? Imagine you start using your willpower. I'll give you an injection, but it just boosts your willpower. And so now every time you feel bad and upset, you don't binge. Okay, I get it. It's a little bit better, but now you're going to be a thin, upset, sad person. Do you know what I mean? So it's like, that's not the real solution you're looking for. You got to remember, in this culture, we've been conditioned to use food as our main emotional management strategy. And that's leaving a lot of very emotionally unfulfilled people out there in the world because we never really learned how to deal with our emotions genuinely. We just use food to distract ourselves when we feel like shit. And it's not fixing anything. It just distracts us for a little bit of time. So I get it. And again, I'm there for you. So Dana, you especially, make sure you go to my bio, click the link at the hypnosis session, watch the video, read the emails I send you. So I think they'll help you. Chloe said, just put a runway model on your phone background and eat 420 calories a day and you will lose weight. Sure. 420 calories a day. Most people are going to lose weight for sure. Karen, what's up? How's it going? Does fasting spike cortisol levels? I couldn't answer that. I'm not really I'm not a fasting expert. So I don't know exactly what fasting does. I like fasting. But I always qualify this because I've been intermittent fasting for 30 years before it was intermittent fasting. I sound kind of like a diet hipster here, but I literally, I've been doing this for 30 years, but I came upon it very naturally. So there was no intermittent fasting, but what there was is me snacking every night, me eating every single night, a lot too, like 500 to 1,000 calories every night. And so I said, I want to create a bigger window of time between when I go to bed and when I stop eating. And I started, an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours, and so that's how I kind of went into it. So that now for 30 years, I pretty much stop eating 6:30 at night. And I eat the next day, usually around 7, 8 o'clock. So it's somewhere around 13, 14 hours. There's no magical bullshit with 16 hours. There's no magical thing that happens those last 2 hours. It's just 2 more hours of not eating. But that creates a lot of other problems in some ways. So does it spike cortisol levels? A, I don't know. B, it would probably depend on the person. And C, it'd probably depend on how intensely you were trying to fast. So I think that again, I wish I could just give you real simple black and white quick answers, but I can't do that, because everything is a nuanced answer, really. And so I don't know if it spikes your cortisol levels or not. Thoughts on veganism? I mean, I am a vegetarian and I am vegan-ish for sure. I really don't eat much dairy, don't eat meat, land animals anyways. I'm a pescatarian, I guess, officially, but I'm very vegan-ish. I don't really hardly eat any dairy. I do eat some eggs and some fish. But so, here's the thing with veganism. I think that it's not for me, but again, who gives a shit, So I think, again, it's just kind of the theme here, right? Go be vegan-ish and see how you feel. Go eat all the meat you want, see how you feel. I used to eat tons of meat. I was raised as a huge meat eater. So for me, vegetarianism, I will say, I'm not saying everyone had this experience, but for me, being a vegetarian felt very much like my sexuality. It just felt like this is what I am, and so it's like I was a meat eater for 25 years, like a big ass meat eater every single day, multiple times a day. And then I started doing yoga and meditation, stuff like this. And I was exposed to kind of vegetarian, the idea, it just kind of resonated with me. It was never a struggle at all. It just kind of happened very organically and naturally. And here I am, been a vegetarian or pescatarian specifically for 25 years. So, I think you try different things and see how it feels for you, I think is the secret. Veganism, I think the big thing I worry about with vegans is becoming really, I don't want to say a junk food vegan, but a processed food vegan. I'm not a huge fan. I don't eat meat, but I don't like a lot of these processed vegan meat substitutes either. I don't want to live off of pea protein or mushroom, mycelium, burgers. I don't know. So it's like, I'm a big fan of very whole natural foods. So that's really more of my focus. And again, if I was a meat eater, I would eat regular meat. I'm not a big fan of vegan bullshit. Processed food, ultra processed food. Some's better than others, but it's still ultra processed. And so that does worry me a little bit with some of the veganism, some of the vegan options. But I think, you certainly can be very healthy, but again, you can be healthy or unhealthy on any diet, really. I've met unhealthy vegetarians, I've met unhealthy meat eaters, so it really depends on the quality of the food you're eating. Just because you're not eating meat or just because you're not eating dairy doesn't automatically make you healthy, for sure. So again, there's a little bit more nuanced answer, I think. What's up, D? D says, do you have any advice on how to deal with being overweight due to worries about safety? Yeah, I deal with that so much, You gotta understand, I've been doing this for 20 years. I've done almost 6,000 private weight loss sessions. The vast majority of them have been women. And I would say, like, right at the very top of the list of reasons why women want to be overweight and have chosen to be overweight, at least subconsciously, is because they believe they're going to be safer. It's protection from men and that attention in that scenario. And so I think that's a real thing that has to be dealt with. We can't just ignore it and say, oh, I'm just going to ignore that. And you won't, And so I think, how do you resolve that? And again, it's going to be different for each person because each person's got a different reason and story, in their past. If you've actually been assaulted, it's you could have a real strong belief that this is being overweight's keeping me safe. It's saving my life. So I think the first thing we got to do is just kind of become aware of that belief if it's there. If you're a woman, you really got to reflect, do I want to lose weight? Do I want that attention that I think I'll get? Okay, that's the first thing. And if it's no, I don't want that attention, I'm using the weight to prevent myself from having to deal with it. Okay, now we start with that. And the next question I like to ask is, am I willing to be overweight for the rest of my life in order to keep myself safe? And and I'd like to follow that right up with, are there any other options to keep myself safe? And I think this is where things start to change. Okay. And I'll tell you what I mean. I think a lot of times we make decisions in a moment and we don't even realize we're doing it. So if you got some scary attention or you were assaulted, you might have made a decision in that moment to say, forget it. I'm never going to do this again. I want to put weight on, avoid this. But now you might realize, as you've gotten older and more mature, that there's other ways you can keep yourself safe. I went through this to some degree too. I mean, I'm not comparing myself to what women have to deal with in any way. I want to make that crystal clear. But I will tell you, as a man, as a guy, being bigger, even if it wasn't muscular, just being bigger, it felt safe. I felt bigger. I took up more space. I was stronger. I was more intimidating feeling, whether it's real or not, or just in my head, I don't know. But I felt more manly, bigger, stronger, safer. Okay. And consistently becoming thinner and slimmer, I'm not as strong as I was. And there's stuff there. So, but at some point we got to look at that and say, am I willing to be overweight and affect my health in order to keep myself safe? And are there other ways to keep myself secure and safe? And what a lot of times you're going to find is there are other ways to keep yourself safe now. You're smarter, you're more aware, you're wiser. And a lot of times you can come up with strategies to keep yourself safe. In your life, when you look at your because a lot of times, like back in the day when you had to be overweight to feel secure, you might have a completely different lifestyle now. You've been walking around in a city back then, and now you live, in a rural area where you never go out at night, So I think it's important to update the beliefs because you may realize, oh, that old belief I had of thinking I had to be overweight to keep myself safe isn't really relevant anymore. I'm in a completely different spot in my life. So I think when you start to interface with that belief and look at it from some different angles, question it, I think that's the beginning of getting past that. But again, we honor it because it's a real thing, and it really does sabotage a lot of people. What's up, Julie? Julie from Massachusetts. Dan says, you're right. Thank you, sir. You're welcome. Thanks for asking the question. Girly Pop says, how do you become emotionally regulated instead of binging? That's a great question. All right, here we go. That's why I love you all, because you're just, I will tell you, at one point I kind of called, I'd always thought of calling Program Yourself Thin weight loss for smart people. So I don't give a shit. I don't care. I just attract the people. I tell you, I'm the luckiest person on the planet. This is one of the reasons is I get to work with smart people all day. So it's really nice. And that's a smart question. How do you become emotionally regulated instead of binging? So the answer starts with that question. Okay. The first thing you got to do to be able to have any chance of figuring that out is to realize the binging is a distraction response typically. It's not resolving the core problem. And so now the next question becomes, how do I become emotionally regulated? You got to drill down because no one's like emotionally regulated across the board typically. Okay. Especially if you're dealing with emotional stuff, it's not about becoming like emotionally regulated. That's too big of a goal. Okay. We need to drill. It's like saying, how do I get a college degree? Well, a college degree in what? You know what I mean? Like a college degree, that could mean anything. That could be 2 years, 4 years, 10 years, 8 years. It depends on what you're talking about. But if we're talking about a college degree in accounting, okay, now I can give you a specific thing. So the first question I want to ask is emotionally regulated with what emotions? You know what I mean? So what emotions are you dealing with? Some people might feel depressed a lot of times. Some people might be feeling angry a lot of times. So there's different situations. So I'll just give you an example. Let's just say someone's depressed a lot. Okay. So how do you become emotionally regulated when you feel depression a lot? So a lot of times you have a pattern where I get depressed and then I start eating everything, right? How do I get emotionally regulated? Well, the first step is start to understand your patterns. And the patterns might be, I don't know, what triggers the depression. You're probably not depressed all the time, right? It might be like, oh, when I think about past relationship I had that I lost, or I think about, my boss yells at me and treats me bad and then I feel depressed, or I hate my job, or whatever it may be. We want to start to notice the triggers and the specifics of it. And then the next question becomes, how do I want to feel? How do I want to feel in those situations? And ask that question genuinely. And so, I always feel depressed because a lot of your emotions and your emotional reactions are like reflexes. You just do them automatically without even thinking about it. And so that's why we need to become aware of them first and say, oh my God, I kind of go, because we all go into like certain emotions. So you'll notice when you get triggered, you go depressed, or you get angry, you get upset, or whatever. Everyone kind of reacts in different ways in different situations. So we want to start to analyze and understand it. So I usually get depressed. What do I want to feel in that situation? Well, I like to feel calm and relaxed instead. I don't want to get depressed anymore. I want to feel at the very least, okay. I'm not going to feel great. My boss yelling at me, I'm not going to feel great about it, but I don't want to internalize it. I want to imagine there's like a force field around me and it kind of hits the force field and his words fall on the ground, And every time my boss yells at me, I just ignore her and she just disappears inside of me, So again, that's kind of the starting point. And say, okay, how could I do that? Well, I need to calm down in general, and so we start to build up a foundation to create the response we want. But it starts with recognizing the reaction we don't like, shifting it over into the reaction we want to have ideally. And again, just because you say it doesn't mean I want to be calm and relaxed instead of depressed. Well, it doesn't mean magically it happens, but if you stay focused on how can I start responding in a more calm, relaxed way. And then again, program yourself then is the core part of the program, is that we learn how to influence our responses, how we feel. And so I was just, I feel calm and relaxed. Okay, how do I feel calm and relaxed? And you learn how to practice that. So I hope that makes sense, right? But it's a basic process you keep using, because there's all sorts of different emotions you want to regulate. So it's a process of practicing them, basically. Ken says the reader rehearsal started out confusing, but now in the second week has become something I look forward to accepting and learning from my mistakes. Ken, I'm so glad you said that. I am doing everything I can to make it not confusing at all right from the beginning. But I'm so proud of you because you stuck with it. I was saying this yesterday. It is very normal because at the end of the day, what it is you're learning to do something new that you haven't done before. And anytime you've learned something new, see, you don't realize now because most of the things you learned new, you were a kid when you did it. But one thing you learned as an adult, and you don't even remember this one, is when you learned to use a mouse, a computer mouse. First time you used that, it was all over the place. You didn't have good control over that. And if you don't believe me, use it with the other hand today and you'll see. And so when we're interfaced with something brand new, it feels weird, feels a little awkward. And the program yourself then technique, the reader rehearsal technique is the same way. You first do it and you're like, oh, it sounds simple. You go and do it. You're a little confused. But again, in order to learn something, you've got to pass through a state of confusion. Do you understand that? There's no learning something new without going through a state of confusion first. Because if you didn't go through a state of confusion, then you'd already knew it. Does that make sense? And it doesn't even matter how hard or complex it is. Using a computer mouse. When you first did it, you went through kind of a state of confusion. Your hand was confused. I don't know what to do. You had trouble controlling it. But then what happened is you automated it. So Kent, great job. And the more, I will tell you, Kent, the more you use that technique, the more powerful it becomes. So it is, I use that technique every single night. It's the central part of my reality. And I swear, I give it credit for almost everything good in my life. So super proud of you for doing that. Because what happens, there's so many benefits. The big one, you just said it, is that now you have a real strategy to deal with your mistakes. Dieters, you know how dieters deal with mistakes? They're not going to make any, right? You try and not make any. But then what happens when you make a mistake? You just fall apart. You have no ability to deal with mistakes, dieters. And so in Program Yourself Thin, a central part of the mastery program is the Program Yourself redo rehearsal technique, because then it doesn't matter if you make a mistake or not. You have a great day, a shitty day. They're almost weirdly, the shitty day almost will serve you better because you're going to learn more from it. But whether you have a great day or a shitty day, it makes no difference because you're learning from it and you're using it to do better tomorrow. And so what that does, though, is it takes a lot of the pressure off of you. You dieters are under such extreme pressure to be perfect ironically, all that pressure actually makes it harder to be on track. So great job, Ken. Super proud of you. Sticking with it. Chloe says, so true, chemical food is bad and should be avoided. Yes, chemical food, watch out for. Because it makes lots of, I don't know. That's why I say I don't give a shit, vegan or whatever. I don't look at like vegan, vegetarian. I don't look at like categories of diet philosophies as healthy or not. I don't, because I really look at things as whole natural foods or processed, ultra processed foods. And whole natural foods, I don't know, like to me, and I am vegetarian. I do think a vegetarian diet's the healthiest one. That's my opinion. I may be wrong. I don't know. But even if you're going to eat meat, but eat high quality meat. And I think you can't go wrong that way, because I've seen people that eat whole natural foods, high quality foods, seem to consistently do better, is what I see all the time. So Girly Pop says, I deal with stress and anxiety a lot because I have lots of responsibilities to deal with. So helpful. Thank you. Yeah, you're welcome, Girly Pop. So thank you for saying that, because now you're giving me more specifics. So now I can give you a more specific answer. So if you're dealing a lot with stress and anxiety, which pretty much every person here is, every one of you, I can almost guarantee is pretty much up to here, overwhelmed, stressed out, anxious, all this stuff, which is why, again, I say that I did decide to release Program Yourself Thin as a hypnosis program only as well. And so what that does, it's not just a hypnosis program where I'm putting good stuff in your head. It's you practicing every day. Ideally, you're bookending your day with some small hypnosis sessions where you're relaxing, you're calming down. So if you're dealing with a lot of stresses and anxiety, this is most important for you, that every day you want to take them in, just like you brush your teeth every day, kind of bring yourself down to a base level. We want to do the same thing with your relaxation and calm. Because what's happening is we kind of habituate to a certain level and just kind of live life at that level. And so we need to intentionally bring ourselves down, relax, breathe, bring our attention inwards. And if you start doing that, Girly Pop, you start doing that consistently day after day, it's amazing. You transform yourself. If you think about relaxation as a muscle, it becomes a stronger, more effective muscle, basically. But if you look at it now, there's probably a good chance you never practice relaxing. Do any of you do? It really is. It's an overlooked thing, especially in America in 2024. It's just overlooked. No one's got time to relax. You don't have time not to relax. The relaxation really is the easiest win you got for really your whole life, but certainly with weight, because in your life, there's times when you make good food choices, times you make unhealthy food choices. And so what's the difference? It's not the knowledge in your head. You know that thing's not healthy for you. It's not going to bring you towards your weight loss goals. But what's the difference? You're in a shitty mood. You're exhausted. You're anxious. You're stressed. You don't give a shit. So it's your mood. It's how you feel that's really driving your eating behavior more than anything else. And so how much are you actually practicing being thin and healthy, though, or being relaxed and calm? And it's probably not that much. And to be honest, you probably don't know how to do it. So again, if you don't have an idea how to do it, if you don't do that very often, please go to my bio, click the link, get the hypnosis session. Cause that's, I always use the relaxation induction with my hypnosis sessions, because to me, it's like, it's a twofer. Every hypnosis session is a twofer. You're getting obviously all the good suggestions put into your mind, but simultaneously, every single time you listen to a session, you're practicing relaxing and being calm. Relaxation's a skill. It's a skill that no one works on. And so but a lot of people just assume, oh, I'm relaxed or I'm not relaxed. That's not true. It's just you didn't work on it. It's like you're not really one-handed or the other. Not really. You might have had a dominant hand. It felt easier when you started, but if you didn't have that hand, if all of a sudden your one hand got lopped off, you guess what you do? You'd start writing with the other hand. So again, just because we can't do something in the moment doesn't mean we can't do it. So stop. I hope you're not doing this. Do not define yourself as a person who can't relax. Because listen, I got one of the most tweaked up nervous systems on the planet. I will tell you this. I am a very, by nature, tense, tweaked up person, but I've spent 30 years really cultivating and honoring my relaxation. It's a part of my daily routine now and has been for a long time. And so am I as relaxed as I thought I'd be when I started? No. But am I way more relaxed than I was and would have been had I continued on that path? Absolutely. So, no matter how stressful your life is, I promise you can be more relaxed than you are now, if you practice it. So, yeah. All right. You know what? I got questions. I'm going to use this as an opportunity to sign off. So I got a lot of stuff to do. So again, I know I sent out yesterday to anyone who's on here, who's on my email list. I apologize. I sent in login information. It wasn't right. And I don't like doing that. I felt bad. I'm going to send you a free hypnosis session. I'm working on it. Get it out today or tomorrow. But I got that for you. So again, if you're not on my email list, make sure you go get on there because I'll send you the session. It's a session designed for Halloween to help you deal with the candy. And, it's a good one. So yeah, get in there. So yeah, if you're not in my world, click the link in my bio, go get the hypnosis session, watch the video, read the emails. If you like the podcast, what you're hearing, make sure you follow me wherever you're listening to me. The podcast is Program Yourself Thin. And it's usually a recording of this. Okay. So if you can get on here live, you have questions, get on here live, ask some questions, and I'll try and help you out best I can. And if you want to listen to it, you weren't able to make it, go listen to the podcast. It's on all the main podcast platforms. So, all right, everyone. Thank you very much. Have a super day, and we'll talk soon. Bye.